and so it was just I got really, really lucky. That documentary gave me like a new fight discipline I could use in a film, a choreography team, a star, and a new country to work in. So yeah, I feel very lucky.
I work at Cinetic Management. Why didn't you sign with us?
Next question.
What's the fighting style you use in this movie?
It's called Silat. There's over 200 different schools of Silat in Indonesia. Silat, yeah. S-I-L-A-T, yeah. There you go. And there's over 200 styles in Indonesia alone, and we've only touched about 2 or 3 in this one.
The trailer alone looks like it's worth $1 million. How did you shoot the whole film for like $1 million?
I didn't get paid. We stretched it really thin. We built like a lot of the studio sets. We built like the hallways and then the atrium and then the rooms and stuff like that. We built all of those in the studio set, and we had to reuse the wood. So that's how low budget it was. So we were very eco-friendly shoot as well. But like we do like we'd fuck around. We do like little DIY tricks as well. I come more from like an independent background, so we tried to figure out ways to make it look more expensive than it actually was. So like when the camera goes through the hole in the floor. That's basically a very basic trick that we did. Like if we did it with a big budget, we'd have a nice piece of rigging that would go through that hole and twist and carry on operating. What I had was 2 camera operators, so one up on top. The camera's on a fig rig, it's like the steering wheel. And so the guy on the top, as Eco drops down, he comes down onto his stomach, onto the floor, pushes half his body through, and then twists the camera. On the bottom floor, my second camera guy stood on a table waiting, and then when he comes down, okay, boom, carries it, and then carries on operating. Everything I've ever seen since I was a kid, like Assault on Precinct 13 was a big influence. Die Hard, also. Every John Woo film ever made. Yes. Jackie Chan film ever made. Yeah, Jack. Yeah. They don't want me to speak anymore. Yeah, Scott. We can hear you. You can hear you, yeah. Okay, so Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, all these films, and Sam Peckinpah as well, Wild Bunch. I'm just a big fan of like 80s and 90s Hong Kong action cinema, and films where you can actually see what's going on in the action, where there's some kind of clarity there as well.
Glasses. How do you approach writing something in a different language about a different culture?
I didn't have to worry too much for this one because the story is kind of more universal and it's completely fictitious, you know. I write in English, and then somebody else does the translation into Indonesian then. The English you're reading is the subtitles then. That's my version of the script then. So I just kind of put that in and try to rework it so that when you're listening to the dialogue being spoken, that it tends to have that same kind of flow, or you know, that you feel like they're speaking it to you in English then. Oh, it's back on. So, there you go. And the first movie I did was more about the culture and the tradition, and I was very sort of self-conscious of the fact that I was a foreigner making a film out there. And so I made it a choice not to show any landmarks. It's like when you see like a foreign film company goes off to Paris and shoots something, all of a sudden everywhere you go in Paris you can see the fucking Eiffel Tower everywhere. You turn around, it's over there, and it's there as well. And so I kind of wanted to make sure we show no landmarks at all, and we just shoot on the streets, in alleyways, and the kind of places that you don't usually see as a tourist then. Like a drug baron's 15-story building.
Over there.
Yeah, watching the trailer for this made me go buy Mercantile, which was awesome as well.
Oh, thank you. I was waiting, I was worried, I was thinking, waste of money or?
Where can I find the documentary that you did?
What happened with the documentary, it was made for a different production company. I was freelance hired. And it was supposed to be one part of a 5-part series on different elements of Indonesian culture. Mine was on Silat. And after mine, they didn't make the rest of them. I don't know if it was because mine was shit. But we've since managed to wrestle the rights back. And so we're going to, like, when I get back to Indonesia and we're done with all of this promo, we're going to do, like, the sound mix and then the color grade on it, and we'll get it out somewhere, somehow then. Eco's in it as well. Very young, fresh-faced boy there.
Way in the back. Top.
There's been a range of reactions to the level of violence in the movie. I mean, we all thought it was awesome. But as a director, how do you decide what's too much?
Good question. This is kind of like my limit. This is my that's sort of, I can't go much further than this. I got this thing for this movie that I wanted the action and the violence to kind of hit you hard and then kind of like run away and show something else then. I wanted it to be one of those things where you can have like a vocal reaction to it, then laugh about it, enjoy it, and realize it's escapism, it's not real, but not feel repulsed by it either. So we don't kind of tend to linger on the violence too much. There's a lot of violence in there, but we don't have shots where we see like when Mad Dog gets killed at the end. Even though it's disgusting what happens with his throat being ripped open, you don't actually see it. It's from a wide profile shot. You're not actually seeing the detail. It's all in your head, you sick people.
Lady right there.
Speaking of that guy, can you tell us a bit more about that guy's background and also the main character? Are they
Yayan?
professional fighters?
Yeah, Yayan plays Mad Dog is the loveliest guy you'll ever meet. He's so nice. He's really intelligent guy. So eloquently spoken when he talks about Sealat as well, which made it all the more fun to kind of get him to play this complete psychopath in the film. Iko, me and Yayan, we've worked together since the first film, and this is our second time working together. And before this second film, we actually started preparing to do a different movie first. So we did an entire film with the choreography that we had to kind of put to rest. But that's what's going to be the sequel. So we've worked together for like 3 or 4 years now, and yeah, they're just great guys. We worked together for like 3 months designing all the fight scenes and doing all the sort of video storyboards to get an idea of how the fight is going to look with the edits and the shots. And yeah, they're great guys. Iko, when I first met him, was on the documentary. And when I met him, he was a delivery guy for a phone company, taking messages back and forth. But he did Silat on the weekends, and he represented Indonesia in Silat for demonstrations and some tournaments. But that was it. And so, yeah, they've both come on this little adventure with me. But I'll tell you one more thing. The guy with the machete and the big eyes, him, his real job, he's an architect. So, when he's not skinning people alive, he's building houses and hospitals, probably.
In the back to the left, over there.
So you didn't do any Jackie Chan style outtakes, but how many times did you have to suspend filming because of injuries?
Oh, once or twice. Actually, in pre-production, the architect, when he came in to audition for the role, he was the only person that came in and sort of didn't treat Iko any more special than anyone else. He was the only person that came in with like full swings of punches and kicks, a little too many. And so what happened was when he was throwing Iko over his shoulder, instead of letting him go and letting Iko land normally, he threw him but held onto his arm and pulled him back in. And on the landing, Iko's legs, when they hit the floor, his kneecap, they kind of separated, went boom, like that. And that was like 1 month before the shoot. So Iko couldn't train for like 3 weeks before the shoot. And then Iko, just to make things even more fucking harder for me, 2 weeks before the shoot, he got chickenpox. And we were supposed to shoot his training session first, the whole sit-ups and pull-ups with his top off. And he just looked like fucking bubble wrap, so we had to wait for him to heal and go through puberty again, and then shoot him a couple of months afterwards.
Back there, class.
What's the hardest part of shooting or making a action fighting movie?
Patience is the hardest part, really, because when you're doing these shots with the fight scenes, like you never get it in anything less than about 10 to 15 takes. At least my guys don't. So, like one shot in particular, like the Mad Dog and Jacka fight, there's a moment at the end where he elbows him in the back of the leg, turns and knees him in the face and knocks him across the floor. And that's like the final knee to the face. That was a really simple shot, really basic. It was a wide shot, so there was nothing too much of a worry in terms of hiding where the impact was. But it took 40 takes to get it. When you're on take 15, you're thinking, well, it's got to be soon. When you're on take 24, you're like, come on. When you're on take 36, you're like, what the fuck is going on? So it's the patience is the hardest part. But the hardest shoot throughout this entire film was when we did the hole in the floor, and then they dropped down and that shoot out there. Now, it wasn't so much what we were doing in the scene, but it was the location. We needed to build a 2-story location, and we didn't have a studio available which had a high enough ceiling because they were all booked out. So we ended up shooting in a badminton court, which had a tin roof. And in Jakarta, it gets hot, really hot. And so at around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, everyone starts dropping, everyone starts, passing out. So we brought in 20 air conditioner units, that did nothing. And then we shifted to the night so that it would drop a little bit, but it didn't do much at all. So in between takes, all of us were like, you know, flies around shit by the air conditioning units just blasting into our face just to keep going for the next shot. It was horrible. Filmmaking is glamorous, right?
So you mentioned distributor thing, you mentioned Hawkeye action movies. Why aren't there like American movies like this?
I really love Undisputed 2 and 3 American movies. I love those. Like, Isaac Flanagan's a great fight director as well. And there's some really good moments there. And, some really good American choreographers as well. Lionel Stoll was a fantastic choreographer as well. There are a lot of people making films like that, but I don't know if they get the release that they deserve or they get the kind of acclaim that they deserve. But, you know, never know. Might happen soon.
Can you talk a little bit about the sound design and the music? Because like you can hear every back break and the music's like really good.
Okay. So for the, this is an interesting one because for the sound mix and the sound design, that was done by my guys in Indonesia, who also worked on the score of the original version in Indonesia, which is also great, and really proud of their work as well. And when we worked on the sound design and the sound mix, I knew I wanted to have a lot more detail than I usually have in the last film. And the reason was because we were inside this one building, I wanted to feel like it's immersive, that you're always surrounded by sounds. And we also, because we were working on a low budget, we needed to kind of fill in the blanks narratively for certain things with the sounds. So, like, I didn't have the budget to have 50 extras running down a corridor chasing after the cops. So when, in the shootout in the atrium, when Eco looks up, we just see the panel of the door, and we just had a bunch of art guys waving in front of a light to make the shadow. And then we just fill in the blanks by all of us in Thailand in the post-war lab just shouting into microphones. So there's a lot of things like that. So you get a feeling like they're surrounded by a bunch of people, but you're not actually seeing anyone. So when they're in that shootout in the hole in the floor, with the exception of the few people that get pulled around and shot and with the axe in the shoulder, and the one guy who drops down, you don't see anyone else. The guy shooting from underneath, you don't see them. So we hit a lot of people by just having the sound do that for us. For the score, outside of the original score, Sony picked up the film when we were still shooting, and they discussed with me the idea of, okay, so we want to release it, but we want to release it with a score of our own. And this was before they cured the original, so there wasn't like a diss on the original at all. And they showed footage to Mike Shinoda. He responded to it, wanted to do it, wanted to make it his first film, full film score. And he brought in Joe Trapanese, who did the score for Tron with Daft Punk. And so for me then, like getting those two guys as a combination is pretty fucking cool. So I knew I could trust them to kind of deliver on it then. But yeah, I in terms of the scores, I like both of them, and this sounds horribly diplomatic, but I like both of them equally. There's certain tracks where I think my guys nailed it, certain tracks where Mike and Joe nailed it. And yeah, in a perfect world I could combine the two. But I'm that much of a control freak though.
How many theaters are you opening in today?
Today I think we have 14, right? 14 throughout. Some in New York, Chicago, Washington, San Francisco, and LA. And next week start to go a little bit wider, but we need word of mouth, so...
Yeah.
in Twitter! So, yeah, annoy all your friends, tell them about it repeatedly over and over again until they unfollow you. And, yeah, but we need that word of mouth in order to kind of spread it and get this film seen by more people. But I just want to thank you all, first of all, for coming on the opening night of the film. It's so fucking cool to see you all here. So, yeah, it's cool. Thank you.